Okay, everybody, I'm serious here. This is not a drill. We are at full red alert. We are at Shanks Con 1, all right? This chapter of One Piece is one of those. Oda's not pulling any punches here, so I need you to go and get some emergency snacks and get back here right now. We're doing this. We're diving right into it. Elbaf, the power of Thor. All right. This is gonna be an intense one. Are you ready? No, we're not. All right, One Piece chapter 1138 review, titled Harley. These are in regards to the Harley text, the sacred text, the lost scripture of Elbaf, and you know, we're moving along a lot faster with this than I originally assumed, because last chapter when we heard, well, 2 chapters ago when we heard about the Harley texts, I was like, oh, okay, cool, probably written in like poneglyph script, and no one there on the island can read them. Some people say that Saul might have been able to read them because Saul has all the books from Ohara, but I don't think there's just a straight poneglyph dictionary that the Oharans had. I think that takes like different kinds of study, so Saul was clearly not able to read it all, so Robin has to read it, and I was like, oh yeah, Robin can read it easily. Well, that happens in this chapter. She just like, you know, Saul pulls out a book, like, here's the book of all of our sacred scriptures. Can you read it? Okay. And then she reads it, and then that's how the chapter ends. Learning about some crazy stuff during the Void Century, before the Void Century. We get some Book of Revelations shit, you know, for like the end of the world coming up. Oh, it's wild. Anyway, continuing on with Oni Child Yamato in the Holy Inari Shrine Pilgrimage. Hey guys, guess what? The secret base that had Who's Who's helmet on it? Guess who was the boss of the base? Who's Who? Yeah, I know, crazy, right? We see him wearing a kimono, he has his sword, he has his helmet, his crew's hanging out, there's some geishas there, some oirons and stuff, probably all the people that he kidnapped from around the Kuri region are there. There's a little framed thing behind him that's the kanji for cat. So, because he's a cat, and he's a saber-toothed cat. All right, cool. The boss of the secret base that we all knew was Who's Who, turns out was Who's Who. All right, that's fantastic. All right. Continuing on where we left off in the primordial world with Loki, Shamrock Figarland, the commander of the Gods Knights. I should clarify, I made a mistake on that one. He is the commander of the Gods Knights, not the supreme commander of the Gods Knights. Not sure how it works with the hierarchy since Garling has been promoted to Garose. Garling might very well still be the supreme commander of the Gods Knights and be a member of the Five Elders. Maybe there's somebody else that was promoted to the supreme commander, but at the very least, the position is a different position that Shamrock has. Gunko is also there, and Loki is there after getting hit like full on by one of Gunko's, I don't even know, strongest attacks. That might have been just a medium level attack for all we know. But he's not unconscious. He's there, and or maybe he was unconscious for a little bit, but he's coming to, and Loki is just like, hey. You kinda look like red-haired Shanks. By the way, completely forgot about that last chapter. Loki had a whole dealing with Shanks. So it's interesting that, like, oh yeah, how does Loki respond to Shamrock standing up and taking off his cloak and revealing himself to clearly be Shanks? I didn't actually see a lot of people bringing that up. I think it's just because we were all flabbergasted by the fact of like, oh my god, Shanks' hot brother, he looks so hot! And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, Loki would definitely recognize him. So Loki is just like, oh, wait, why do you look like red-haired Shanks? Are you him? Are you a different person? What's going on here, right? And Shamrock turns around and is about to say something. He's like, and then Gunko is like, you know, do not be insolent, you foolish giant. You know, you do not need to know anything about us, you know? So she's gonna be playing that kind of character. However, Loki goes on to be like, all right, whatever. You know, don't tell me, what do I care? It's just interesting that a Tenryubito and a great pirate, a Yonko like Shanks, would share the same face. You guys are like polar opposites. You are literally on the opposite ends of like I wouldn't say good and evil, because that's playing with some themes there that I don't think Oda wants to go down the line, that like Shanks is objectively good and Shamrock is objectively evil. you know, Shanks is still a pirate, ladies and gentlemen, you know, but at least in terms of opposite, you know, ethics or viewpoints on the world, I guess, at the very least, Shanks is a pirate out there for freedom, and the Tenryubito and the Celestial Dragons are all about oppression. So at the very least, opposites on that end there. It also goes back to when Roshinate was talking to Law about the Will of D, and like, oh yes, the members of the Will of D are the enemies of gods, and we've had a lot of plays with, you know, the gods, the Celestial Dragons, and the Will of D are the devils of the world. Now, Shanks, we know, does not have the Will of D. At least it's never been mentioned that he has the Will of D, but he has the Will of D, like, in terms of his personality, unless we find out something about Shanks that we didn't know about previously. But considering that, you know, it's more about, like, an inherited will type deal. Like, he was obviously born in Marie-Joie. He wouldn't have been given the D initial, but does he embody what the D means? All right, that's the idea. But anyway, this is interesting. Shamrock does stop, and he has no obligation to tell Loki any of this, but he does. Which means this bothers Shamrock. This is not something that's just like, you don't need to know about my life, and then he leaves. Okay, and then Loki's just there like, okay, fine, whatever, I didn't need to know. You know, but really, Shamrock stops and tells him all about his relationship with Shanks. He gives him a little bit of information about this, which means at least Shamrock is like, I want it just to be known that I'm not like that other guy you're talking about, all right? So it does bother him a bit. It's interesting. So he says, that pirate you're talking about is my younger brother. I was separated from him when I was very young. But one time he did return to Marie-Joie, but it seems like he seems to have taken a liking to this filthy world we live in now. All right, so couple of things to unpack with that. So they're not clones, all right? I mean, like, I think it was a long shot, but I threw it out there anyway. It's like, you never know in One Piece, right? Maybe they were evil clones. Maybe Garling cloned himself twice or something. I don't know. But yes, Shamrock and Shanks are brothers, okay? Now, Shanks is the younger brother, Shamrock is the older brother. What does this mean exactly? Does this mean that they were just twins? Meaning that Shamrock is technically older, but really only by a few seconds. You know, Shamrock was born and then Shanks came right after, so that's the way that goes. Or, given the fact that Shamrock's name is Shamrock and connections to Ireland, I've been seeing a lot of people leave comments talking about something called Irish twins. I've never heard of this before, but apparently it's the term that was used for, like, let's say a child is born to a family, and then the mother almost immediately gets pregnant again with the next child, and then so the second child is born within a year of the first child. That is referred to as Irish twins, okay? Something that very nearly happened in my family, actually. My uncle was born, and then my dad was born, like, I don't know, like 15 months later. It was very close. They were very close together. So it might have been something like that, where Shamrock could be 40 and then Shanks is 39, like it is like one right after another, or were they twins born at the same time? I'm assuming they were twins born at the same time, and Shamrock is just like, yeah, I'm the older brother by like 2 seconds. You know, like that might be the case there. But they were separated at a young age. That was when Shanks was taken by Roger with the treasure at God Valley. He also says here, he did return to the Holy Land once. Now this is interesting, because we had that individual back at the Reverie that was maybe Shanks, maybe it was Shamrock. Is that what he's referring to here? So a couple of interesting things. If that was Shanks at the Reverie who showed up wearing the cloak, and the Gorosei were like, we don't normally take, you know, meetings with you, but given your status, I guess we can make an exception, right? And then, you know, that individual sat down and was like, I need to talk to you about a certain pirate. Okay, if that was Shanks, then this could be that moment that Shamrock is referring to right now. There was a moment where Shanks came back to the Holy Land, but he chose to leave, and he chose to go back living in this filthy world, the lower realm. And the kanji that's actually used here that Shamrock uses for the world, as in the lower realm, because we all know the pompous way that the Celestial Dragons refer to everything, like, oh, we're living in the upper realm of Marie-Joie. Everybody else is down there in the lower realm, right? The word is Gekai, meaning the underworld, or the lower realm, okay? So so he's referring to like, oh yeah, this disgusting place that we've been forced to enter. You're not like the upper higher realm of Marijois where all the gods reside. You know, it's that kind of thing. So no, Shamrock truly is like a celestial dragon through and through. This is not going to be a thing where it's like, Shamrock actually turned out to be an okay guy. It's like, no, he's still using the same lingo and terminology that all the other celestial dragons use, right? But anyway, so if that was Shanks, then he might have just been referring to this moment. Now, here's where it gets fun. If that person that met with the Gorosei at the Reverie, if that was not Shanks, if it was actually Shamrock, a member of the Gods Knights that was just going to get a meeting with the Gorosei, well, that means that there was still another moment that Shanks went back to Marijois that was unrelated to that moment at the Reverie. It could have been 5 years ago, could have been 10 years ago, not sure when this happened, but at some point in Shanks' life, more than likely after, you know, Roger's death and after, you know, Shanks was out on his own, forming his own crew, I'm assuming it would have been around at that point, he arrived there, okay? So it's one or the other, but Shanks was definitely in Marijois at one point. Could have been during Reverie, could have been before that. But I'm going with Reverie right now because I always had the feeling that person that sat down with the Gorosei was actually Shanks. It was not Shamrock, okay? So just keep that in mind that he brings that up. So Loki is there, and he's, you know, remember, he's beat pretty bad right now, and he's still chained up and everything, so he's kind of like labored breathing and everything. But he's just like, ugh, all right. It seems my anger just seems to grow and grow. Now I have a grudge against both of you, brothers. You know, I have a grudge against Shanks for beating me and tying me to this tree, or I guess, like, bringing him back. I guess it was all the giants of Elbaf that helped secure him to the tree, but maybe Shanks was there to help out, too. He had at very least defeated Loki and dragged him back to Elbaf, at the very least there. And then you also have Shamrock and Gunko now murdering all of his friends in the forest, and asking him to join the Celestial Dragons, so Loki now has a grudge against Shamrock and Shanks. And he's just like, you just wait until I get out of here. You just wait until I break these chains. Oh, you're all dead. You know, like, that's the idea, right? He's like, you look around at all my dead companions, all the animals in the forest, and we see the gorilla and the mammoth and the bear and the snake all stabbed with Gunko's arrows. They're bleeding. They're not moving, guys. I think they're just straight up dead. They're impaled pretty bad. I think they're all just gone. And so he's like, yeah, you wait until I get out of these chains, and I'm gonna murder you, you know, like after what you did to all my friends. And then Shamrock is like, are you threatening me, giant? Which is interesting, because up until now, Loki has kind of been doing nothing but threatening you and going against you. He's literally not listened to a single word you've said, and was literally like, you know, wait until I get out of these chains. Now Shamrock is like, are you freaking threatening me, giant? And then Gunko is just like, oh, Commander, please, Commander Shamrock, don't bother. You know, you don't have to raise your sword. You don't have to get involved here. And that's when Shamrock is like, right, Gunko, I don't need to dirty my own hands. And so then he takes out his sword. Oh my god, this is so badass and very fun for a lot of One Piece theories. So he pulls out his sword, his little saber thing here, and he's like, yeah, you're right, I don't need to dirty my own hands. He holds out his sword and he says, Cerberus. And then his sword turns into Cerberus! Okay. Yes. All right, so we don't get a devil fruit name. Like, it would be like dog fruit, mythical variant, model Cerberus. Maybe it is. Maybe it's something similar to the Gorosei. I don't know. I'm assuming it's just object ate a devil fruit. But oh my god, this is so cool. I can think of like 3 things to just bring up with this alone. Thing number 1, does this mean Shanks' sword can turn into an actual griffin? I don't know if that's the first thing you thought of. That was the first thing I thought of. Because Griffin Cerberus, I thought his name was going to be Phoenix. I thought it'd be really cool. Shanks has Griffin, Shamrock has Phoenix. But no, this works too. Because Griffins are a lion with the head of, the eagle with the head of a lion, right? Or like eagle with a lion head, that's the kind of thing. So the idea behind the griffin, and it's been used in so many different cultures, is that the lion is the king of the beasts, the king of the ground, and the eagle is the king of the air, the king of the sky, right? So it's like you put them together, you have like the ultimate creature. You have the king of like beasts in general. It's this ultimate chimera called the griffin that soars through the skies, okay, with the strength of a lion and the nobility and power of all these beasts, right? Then you have Cerberus, the guard dog of the underworld. You know, Hades' pet doggo that is really, really good. He's a really good doggo. You know, they go for walks all the time. But I want to tell you one about the story that Heracles took Cerberus for a walk. You know, like that. I'll tell you that story sometime. It's really funny. But anyway, yeah. So this is perfect though, because Shamrock, think about it this way. Shamrock, he's the celestial dragon, the commander of the God's Knights that lives on top of Marijwa, but he uses a sword with the power of a dog from the underrealm. Meanwhile, Shanks, as Shamrock just says, he chose to live in this filthy lower realm. But Shanks has a sword called Griffin that is this ultimate soaring beast in the sky, the king of beasts, the ultimate symbol of strength and power. Ah, I love it, Oda. So yeah, can Shanks' sword turn into a griffin? Because I kind of want that now. Also, I'm assuming Shamrock does not have a devil fruit for that reason. He has a sword that has a devil fruit, which leads into the second thing I wanted to bring up. Remember that one SBS where Oda was talking about the Straw Hats that don't have devil fruits and which devil fruits they would want? With Zoro, he said, I want the Azure Dragon fruit, but not for Zoro, rather one of his swords. Like the Wado Ichimonji gets the Azure Dragon, Kaido's zone. Oh, that would be cool. So a sword that can turn into a dragon, right? So that made me think of this as well. It's also just like a practical thing. Like if you have the option, like if you're a swordsman, you might not want to eat a devil fruit because that gives you inherent weaknesses to the sea, but hey, if you just have the sword eat the fruit, you get to use the sword, you get kind of devil fruit abilities, and you're still able to swim. That's actually a good way around that, right? Oh my god, and then what was the third thing? I had the third, oh, Blackbeard, right, yeah, Blackbeard, right. Yeah, so there was a theory for a very, very long time, and it still existed. I mean, I thought it was fairly possible that this could exist, that the reason why Blackbeard can eat multiple devil fruits is because he has the Cerberus mythical zone, and he has like 3 heads, 3 different souls, and that's why he can consume the Yami Yami no Mi and the Gura Gura, and he had the mythical zone Cerberus at one point. So that clearly is not the case. If this really is just the Inu Inu no Mi model Cerberus, you know, Shamrock's sword has consumed this. So that's not the case with Blackbeard. I almost feel like Oda put that in there just to be like, nope, there is going to be a Cerberus zone. Don't worry about that. But it's not going to be Blackbeard, okay? Also, I feel like, yeah, Blackbeard, the reasoning that he was able to eat multiple devil fruits, like, even when he was a child, it was mentioned by Shanks and Buggy that, like, this guy's weird. He doesn't need to sleep. He's a monster, and this was long before he ate any devil fruit, right? So I think that was something weird with Blackbeard from the beginning that we're going to learn about. But when it comes to the whole Blackbeard Cerberus theory, you got to strike that one from the record, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think that's going to turn out to be the case. Also, I mean, that's like a side thing, not really a big point, but, you know, this isn't the first time we've seen a Cerberus in One Piece. We've also seen the one at Thriller Bark, but that was the one hogback just kind of stitched together. So not really a Cerberus, but, you know, it's just something to bring up, I suppose, right? Okay, so, yeah, this is what happens. I'm just gonna describe this because a lot of weird One Piece shit happens at, like, once. So Shamrock pulls out his sword. The blade begins to, like, you know, just puff up in a amalgam of fur and gnashing, gnarling teeth, like, and then 3-headed dog Cerberus emerges out of his sword. The sword is still there, like, the blade is still there, but, like, smoke and energy and lightning is, like, firing off the edge of it, and it's just kind of connected to the dog as if it's like a leash, okay? And so the dog's heads emerge, they're all wearing spiked collars, and then they open their mouths and swords emerge out of their mouths. Now this makes perfect sense, right? I mean, yeah, sword turning into a Greek, you know, mythical being, Cerberus, and then swords coming out of his mouth. This makes perfect sense. No, because we know another sword that had a power of a devil fruit. We know Funkfried's Spondum's sword that had the Zozo no Mi, the elephant fruit, right? And that creature, the Funkfree, the elephant, was able to turn its trunk into a sword, like a hybrid sword elephant, okay? So it makes sense that this Cerberus would also be able to turn its tongue or like generate swords, probably at any part of its body. But so then 3 giant swords emerge out of this thing's mouth, but wait, it doesn't stop there. The collar, the spiked collars begin to spin. The heads come off. We're not done yet. Still, just bear with me here. The heads come off. Then Gunko creates an arrow bird. That's kind of unrelated, but she creates a bird, like a little glider plane made of arrows. And then like, come on, Shamrock, come on, Commander, let's get out of here. Let's leave. She also mentions, let's hide our presence, we're leaving. So earlier when they arrived, I was like, how come nobody is sensing the hockey or the energy coming off these people? Right, these crazy, powerful individuals that have just invaded Elbaf. Because we've seen that before in Fishman Island, like Luffy and Zoro and Sanji were able to use observation to like sense caribou in the palace. Why weren't they able to do that? There is a way for them to hide their presence. There is some like obfuscating like hockey or some ability to like, you know, turn off your hockey like Zetsu or something in Hunter x Hunter so they can hide their presence. They are capable of that. So I just wanted to bring that up as a side thing. So they get on the bird ready to leave. Shamrock gives the command, scramble. Then the 3 heads of Cerberus launch off of the body of Cerberus, still with the swords coming out of their mouths. They begin to spin in the air, flying around. Shamrock and Gunko get on the arrow bird and fly away. And then Shamrock is just like, if you manage to survive this, come back and fight me and kill me anytime that you wish. Well, if you can, that is. And, do you think Loki touched a nerve? Do you think he touched a nerve a little bit there with Shamrock? He touched something. I don't know. He was just like, hey, I'm gonna kill you guys after what you did to my friends. Shamrock's like, yeah? Come again? Yeah, and then uses this. Okay, so double page spread. The 3 heads of Cerberus are spinning around in the sky, and they are just dive-bombing after Loki. Loki obviously can't move, he's tied to the tree. So he looks up, though, and he's even like, oh man, this isn't good if those things hit me. So Loki is really strong, and he knows his endurance, but he's chained to a tree with Sea Prism, and he knows that, like, whatever hockey or power is coming off of those dog head swords, whatever, that's not good news. That hits me head on. I'm gonna be hurting for a while. That ain't good. And it comes diving at Loki. He's like, damn you, Tenryubito, bastard! And it just hits him right there in the fucking breadbasket, like right in the stomach. Oh, man. And we don't see the reaction. We see Loki's body kind of go silhouette as he's like screaming in pain. But we don't see what happens afterward if he loses consciousness or whatever. We just see a giant like fire hydrant of blood just gushing out of him. And then we just cut to the air as Gunko and Shamrock are flying away on her arrow bird. By the way, she's able to make arrow birds. This is crazy. Shamrock mentions, this is going to be difficult to bring the giants to heel, so I guess we'll start with, like, taking the children hostage, I suppose. So the whole idea of this mission is to get the giants to heel to the world government, to get them to bend the knee, as it were, okay? So their first strategy here was like, okay, let's enlist Loki. That's probably the quickest way, because Loki's like the strongest giant right now. So let's go to Loki, let's free him. If he agrees to be a member of the Celestial Dragons, we'll use Loki to subjugate all the rest of the giants. That was plan 1. Not a great plan because it didn't work, because Loki's like, screw you, I'm not joining the Celestial Dragons. So now they got to think a little bit outside the box here. They got to be like, all right, this isn't going to work. All right, so if we want to get the giants to listen to us, I don't know. Yeah, I guess we just go and take a bunch of the giant children hostage and then threaten them, and then the giants will, you know, bend the knee to the world government that way, or we kill all their kids. I guess that's the next thing to do, right? So that means their next targets are going to be the Warrior Spring. They're going to be heading to the Walrus School probably after this, so that's going to tie everything back together. But oh my god, that's going to be... Well, we have Frankie, we have Robin, Chopper's there, do not worry. Chopper is there, and Chopper will protect those kids with his life, all right? We'll be okay. But they do mention that things are going to get a little bit intense, and maybe only having 2 of them isn't good enough. So Shamrock is like, we need to summon another one, as in summoning another God's Knight. And Gunko is like, understood. Which one shall I summon? And then Shamrock says, summon my hot sister. Gunko is like, oh, really? It's finally time? Okay. Psst, come in. Shanks' hot sister. God's Knight, we need you. Okay. And then... I mean, it could happen. I don't know. All right, so that's the scene with Gunko, Shamrock, and Loki, and Shamrock's badass sword Cerberus that can turn into a dog that can summon swords out of its mouth that can then detach and then fly around. That is incredible. That is, I did not expect Cerberus fruit and the Shamrock sword to be on the bingo card today, but that's not even all of it. That's not even the craziest thing that happens in this chapter. Okay, yeah. All right, so moving on to Aurust Castle. All right, going back to the castle at this point, right? So Luffy found the 2 giants that were attacked by Gunko. They are both still alive. They are not dead. Gunko did not finish the job. Come on, Gunko. I believed in you. I thought you were just going to wipe them both out. No witnesses, right? But no, she let them live. Okay, so anyway, they're pretty beat to shit, though. And they're talking about how, yeah, we got attacked by 2 individuals, 2 intruders. One of them was red-haired Shanks. Now, obviously, Luffy's really upset about that immediately. Like, liar! Objection! Do you really think Shanks would attack you for no reason? I mean, if he was gonna kick the shit out of you, he would clearly have a good reason. I mean, he wouldn't, because Shanks is a chill, laid-back guy. There's no way. Wait a minute. Did you make fun of his hair? Actually, I don't know. That would be funny if that was the thing that set Shanks off. You just make fun of his hair. You know, it's just like, did you call Shanks a ginger? Because he's murdered entire countries before over less. No. But anyway, it's like, yo, the giants are there, and they know Shanks, because Shanks has visited Elbaf several times before. So they're just like, well, we've met Shanks before. We know what he looks like, kid. I'm sorry to tell you, it was definitely him. It looks just like him. And Luffy's like, but Shanks is super cool. Well, why would he do that? Why would he hurt you guys? And Zoro is like, well, the Giants did say that Shanks was here recently, because they did. They were here. Shanks was there way back when he fought Kid, and then he left. So Zoro's like, well, he might still be around, Luffy. This does kind of make sense, right? Luffy is still 100% confident there is no way this was Shanks. Shanks is a super chill, laid-back guy. He would never attack 2 giants for absolutely no reason. Nami says, oh, wow, you're very confident in the man, aren't you? Remember, Nami and Zoro, even, the oldest members of the Straw Hats, have never met Shanks before. So they really don't know much about this guy, but Luffy, of course, does. But then again, I mean, the last time Luffy met Shanks, Luffy was 7. I mean, it was a long time ago, so, you know, I can understand Nami and Zoro's perspective here. Like, yeah, maybe Luffy. I mean, they're saying it was Shanks. I mean, like, they have eyeballs. They saw him, right? There's an interesting line here with Luffy and Nami, though, that I want to bring up, where Luffy's like, well, of course I'm sure of myself, Nami. What happens if somebody made fun of your mom? Melmere, remember her? And then Nami's, of course, it's Belmere, Luffy, it's Belmere. Now, this is, okay, I'm okay with this, but I'm like, the fact that Luffy forgot about Belmere's name, or he messed up the name, initially kind of was like, really? Would Luffy have forgotten? Like, that's an important part of the Arlong Park arc, you know, like that scene at the end with, you know, Luffy at the grave and Genzo is there and everything like that at Belmere's grave. I understand Luffy messes up names, but also Luffy is really pissed right now, you have to understand. So I chalked it up to that. I chalked it up to like, there's no way, you're a liar! There's no way Shanks would hurt you guys! Shanks isn't doing that! Shanks is a super cool laid-back pirate guy! Right, Nami? Like if someone made fun of your mom, Melmere or whatever, Belmere, right, Belmere, yeah, I knew that, but anyway, yeah! So that's the way I interpreted it. He was just really upset, but other than that, the idea that Luffy forgot about Belmere's name would be a little strange. Because he can actually remember names fairly well. He remembers faces okay, but names, they're kind of up in the air. Okay. So, they actually arrive at the conclusion pretty quickly, and I'm really happy about this. They don't spend too long on the whole, like, it must have been Shanks! There's no other explanation! No, they come up with an explanation pretty quickly, where the Giants are like, okay, well, if it wasn't Shanks, then I guess it's possible he had a twin. He might have had a brother. I mean, that's the only other explanation I could come up with right now. And they're like, yeah, I guess Shanks could have a brother. And Luffy was thinking about it, and he was like, well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I never really talked much about his family, and never asked him really. And I know that Shanks was, raised on a pirate ship. I guess his family was the Roger Pirates. So it was Goldie Roger and Rayleigh and Scopper Gabon. God knows where he's at this time of day, and everybody on the Roger Pirates, except for Buggy. I love how Luffy brings up the Buggy as the exception. Now, Luffy doesn't know the whole story. Luffy doesn't know the whole story between Shanks and Buggy and everything, but Shanks considered Buggy part of his family. Like, that's like a standard. That's done, Literally, Shanks stayed behind with Buggy while the rest of the crew went all the way to Laugh Tale, just because, Buggy was sick and he wanted to make sure his friend was okay. All right, so yeah, no, Shanks definitely views Buggy as a family member and as his brother. Now, whether or not Buggy views Shanks that way, I would say he does as well. From the last time that Buggy was talking about him, he admits that, like, Shanks was always better than me. I realized that. I was okay with him being the pirate that was going to lead us, but then he said he did not want to go back to the One Piece immediately, and that's why Buggy felt betrayed, and then they split at Logtown. They didn't, talk after that, right? But I think now, if Buggy admitted it to himself, like, Shanks is the closest and best friend he's had his entire life. If we're being honest here. It's just that Buggy is being a little obstinate, but I think he's going to come around to that point. But yeah, so while that conversation is happening, as Luffy is saying, I guess his family was the Roger Pirates, so Roger and Rayleigh. We then see outside of the castle, walking up, not walking up the stairs for, because I guess the stairs are giant size and this person is a human. We see the individual. We see the man walking with the Casa hat, who's probably Shiki. I mean, come on. Who else could it be? Scopper Gabon? What? You think just because this character happens to be showing up right at the same time that Luffy is talking about the Roger Pirates, you think that individual has to be a member of the Roger Pirates? That's not how things work, ladies and gentlemen. That could be Wang Ji for all we know. All right, yeah, no, Scopper Gabon stocks are up and Shiki stocks are down. I get it, I feel it. But Shiki was still part of that era, so I don't know. I mean, Shiki definitely knew Roger, so close enough, I guess, maybe? I don't know, but I think a lot of people are going to be putting their money on Scopper as of this chapter. As for me, I'm still going with Shiki. In fact, I'm doubling down. That's definitely Shiki. You might think it's Scopper, but it's Shiki. Right, all right. He's walking up the side of the steps, and he's about to enter the castle. Like, he's pretty close to the door when we see him. He's also, by the way, now that he's not in silhouette, we don't see his face. We just see the back. We see his striped kimono. We see the hair, and we see the hat. This is 100% the same individual that was sitting with Crocus way back in chapter 630 something, I think, with the Decks of the World. Now what? You think just because they were sharing a friendly drink and Crocus and Scopper were on the same crew, that just makes it Scopper? Whatever. It's probably Shiki. Wouldn't it be funny? The whole reason we think it's Shiki, mainly, is, the kimono is striped, for one thing, and the hair. But this was the digitally colored manga. They might have messed this up. This individual might have gray hair instead of yellow hair, instead of blonde hair. The stripes might not be the yellow stripes that Shiki wore. They could be different stripes, So this digitally colored thing could just be messed up right now, and that's the whole reason we think it's Shiki. But, like, whatever. Okay, now, yeah, this Scopper is more than likely right now. Okay, but anyway, that person is probably going to be entering the castle, and we're probably going to find out who they are in the next chapter. Which, by the way, no break next week. We're getting the rare 4 chapters in a row. We need to celebrate next week or something. This doesn't happen very often, although the last time this did happen was right before a 1-month hiatus. Just throw that out there, just letting everybody know. I don't think it's going to happen, but last time this happened was right before 1054, where we had a month break. So, it's just, yeah. We now cut back over to the Warrior Spring area. This is the last setting of the chapter. Yeah, this is the last setting of the chapter. So we had the Underworld with Loki, Gunko, and Shamrock. Then we have the castle with Luffy's group, the mysterious individual approaching the castle. And then we have the Warrior Spring, specifically They're on the branches of the Yggdrasil, of Treasure Tree Adam. Ripley is giving Frankie a tour of the place, and so she's giving him a tour because, Frankie was really interested in Treasure Tree Adam for obvious reasons. It's the material that the Sunny is made out of. This isn't the only Adam tree in the world, but it's, the biggest and the oldest by far. So they're walking up the tree, and, at that point, Ripley is like, yep, look around you, Frankie. Everything you see is Adam tree. And then Frankie is just like, this is scarce my ass. It's all over the place. Look how huge it is, and they also talk about how expensive the wood is. Like, remember, Frankie stole that money from the Straw Hats, that $200 million that they got from the treasure at Skypiea, to buy the lumber that was the Adam wood. Okay, remember that, right? So it's expensive out there. And Ripley is saying, oh, maybe we should start cracking off parts of the tree and selling it too to make money. And then Frankie's like, don't encourage me. I might actually want to do that, right? But no, they told, like, Saul sat Frankie down and was basically like, all right, Frankie, listen, I don't know how it works in the outside world, but this is our sacred world tree that has supported our culture since time immemorial. You are not selling this shit on the black market, okay? And Frankie's like, because remember, Frankie used to be a ship dismantler. He had ties in the underworld. Dude, I can't believe I hadn't thought of this up until now, dude. There should be a moment in this story where, like, the underworld gets involved in a big way, like kind of Big Mom's Tea Party, all the heads of the underworld. They might know about Frankie. Frankie might have connections in the underworld because of his previous, job and everything like that on Scrap Island. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I just never really considered that before, okay? So, Saul was like, this is a sacred tree, don't be cutting it down. And Frankie's like, all right. By the way, I love how Ripley is holding Frankie like an action figure. I love that, because Frankie is a little bigger than the average human, right? And Ripley's a giant. So from this perspective, it's not like Frankie can fit in Ripley's hand. She's holding him like a Megazord. Like holding like the old Power Ranger toys I used to play with as a kid. Just like, woo, Astro Megazord, go! Set controls to outer space. Okay, we don't have time to sing the whole Power Rangers in Space theme. We have stuff to do today, all right, okay. Anyway, it's just funny, because holding him like a freaking robot action figure. I love that. Okay, Ripley Frankie. Now, she's happily married. She is a married giant. Okay, it just wouldn't work. All right, so anyway, Frankie jumps down, and then he looks over, and he sees a mural carved into the side of the Adam wood tree. And Ripley says, oh, that is a mural that was scribbled or etched into the tree by children 800, 900 years ago, during the Void Century. This was carved into the tree. It is a natural heritage site, like much how, like, certain parts in our world, like, you go into a cave and there's, like, Neolithic, like, drawings in the middle of a cave. Like, that's natural heritage shit. You don't touch that, you know what I mean? Right? So it's like a sacred part of the Adam wood tree, which is already very sacred. It's estimated that it was made between 900 and 800 years ago during the Void. Frankie immediately freaks out upon hearing that, and he's like, wait, what? This is a mural from the Void Century? Oh my god, I gotta tell Robin about this, like, immediately. Like, she needs to see this. Like, this is important, right? And so he's like, let's go talk to her. But Frankie is looking at it, like, in awe, and Frankie's a shipwright. He's not a dumb guy, but, like, this is not in his wheelhouse, right? So he's looking at this, and he's just like, but wait a minute, if it was giant children that drew this back in the Void, but there's a bunch of people on here that aren't giants. Like, there's a mermaid here, and then there looks like a robot, and then there's, like, minks, I think. Like, there's all sorts of, like, people on this mural, and we learned from the last chapters that, like, the giants aren't very much aware of, like, meeting fishmen and merfolk. Like, it doesn't happen very often, and Frankie's like, wait a minute, there's giants, but there's other things on here, too. What is this? So we don't see the full mural right at this moment. We see it at the end of the chapter, so pause, put a pin in that for right now. Ripley goes on to say that as far as I know, as far as the history texts go, giants have never allied with other tribes, with other races. So the idea of giants allying with minks and fishmen and merfolk, and long arms, long legs, humans, like that, just hasn't happened in our recent history or in our records that I'm aware of, okay? But remember, the Harley texts are sacred texts that are like indecipherable, like enough time has passed that no one can really, read them anymore. And that's why all the confusion comes from of like the sun god and what this sun god is, of destruction or a bringer of light and hope, or just a god of laughter and mirth and trickery. Like, what exactly is this? So we're gonna see it at the end. Just hold on. So, before we cut back over and see what's up with the Owl Library, and we see Robin and Saul, Ripley stares at this mural, and remember, she's seen this mural several times before. This is nothing new to her. But she's looking at it, and she's like, this whole thing just might be a child's dream. And she says that in the context of the mural, like maybe some child 850 years ago had a weird dream and decided to draw it on the side of the tree, and that's all we're seeing right now. But us reading this, I'm not going to go I think there's a lazy way to do this trope, and it's at the very end of One Piece, a random child wakes up in his bed. A 12-year-old Eiichiro Oda wakes up in his bed, and it's like, what? Oh, I had the weirdest dream. Okay, whatever, and the entire thing was just a dream. That's a lazy way to do it. A better way to do it is, because the idea of desires made devil fruits manifest, it could be a thing like thousands of years ago, the dreams of children somehow created all the wacky, crazy shit that exists in this One Piece world, because there is so many crazy things. The Grand Line, the weather patterns, the crazy islands, sea monsters, all sorts of things. There are rabbits that live in the ocean, for God's sakes, okay? Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, none of this makes any sense. You can just grab a balloon and float up to the goddamn moon. This seems like shit that would have been cooked up by like a 6-year-old that ate too many pixie sticks. And like, oh my god, there's a giant moon, you can float up to the moon, oh my god, I'm gonna fly around on a giant robot, and then I'm gonna see a sea creature, and then I'm gonna meet a mermaid, and then I'm gonna see a giant cat person, and then I'm gonna go over here into the whale tree, and then oh my god, there's samurai with katana. That literally is what this fucking sounds like! So, I swear to God, if the end of this story turns out to be like, yeah, a long time ago, children dreamed up all this crazy stuff, devil fruits included, I'd be like, all right, no, that tracks. That tracks. I can see that. All right. Anyway, we see, as she says, it might just be a child's dream. We cut over to the Walrus School very briefly. We see the children running around and playing and having fun. Angie is teaching classes. That's it. That's all we really see. But it's interesting because Ripley says, a child's dream. And then we see the children at the school learning and playing and having fun. So who knows? And then immediately after that, we cut to the Owl Library for the final scene of the chapter, where Saul is taking out the Harley text. He literally goes over to probably like the oldest part of the library and like moves this giant book. This is not the book that was enlarged with Biblo's power. This is like one of the old ancient giant texts. And just like, giant book. Do I have a giant book? Hold on a minute. Yeah, here we go. The world of ice and fire. Just like the ancient texts of the world and age of heroes. And then he plops that right down on the table in front of Robin and Chopper. And it's like, oh my god, it's full of dust. And he's like, yeah, pretty much every myth in Elbaf was created with this text in mind, you know what I mean? It's all fragmented, though, the interpretations. No one can read this thing anymore. But that's why every giant kind of believes in a different version of the sun god with a different personality. And Robin is like, oh, that's fascinating. Can I read it? And Saul's like, well, of course. That's kind of the reason I got it out. I was wondering if you could read it and you could kind of piece it together here, okay? So Saul states that the story is broken into 3 chapters. The third world is said to be the present world that we live in, and what is about to happen. So there's the first world and the second world, events that already occurred, and then the third story, third world, is kind of like Revelations, like kind of like in the end of the Bible, like stuff that will happen, like the end of days has yet to pass, that kind of shit, right? So Saul also adds that the legend of the sun god Nika is spread all over the world quietly by those that are oppressed and others as well. They all have kind of different stories revolving around Nika, but one thing that's always one thing that's always prevalent is the dance. Is the dome ta 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 dome ta ta ta, you know, like the dance that, and Saul does it here for Robin, and the dance we saw Kuma and Vegapunk and Kizaru and Sentomaru and everybody dancing to, and Bonnie back at Egghead in the flashback. Kuma learned it from his dad, Clap. He was doing the dance, very important to the Buccaneers and all that stuff, right? And so Robin begins reading the sacred Harley texts, and Chopper is there just like with a little sparkle in his eye, like, ooh, story time. And then we cut back to outside where Frankie is still looking at the mural. And this is the last and greatest double page spread in all of One Piece. I'm not even shitting you. 1,138 chapters of this manga. This might take the cake at being the best end of a chapter, the best double page spread ever. Ever. Like, this blows any fight scene out of the water to me. Any epic double page spread of Luffy punching out the main villain. I had to go back and reread some Marineford chapters for a video I'm making soon. So I reread the chapter where Whitebeard died, and that epic double page spread where it's Whitebeard just there going over all the injuries he had. That's epic. Not saying it isn't. This is more impactful. This is way cooler. All right. So, I ran into a bit of a problem at this point. I should probably bring up. You know, I don't really show the manga panels when I do these. You know, it's kind of a thing where it's like I'm not really sure about copyright. You know, his video's going to get taken down. I know there's other content creators on YouTube that do use the panels and nothing happens. It's just in my experience in the past, you know, I'll use manga panels and sometimes a year or two will go by and then the video will get taken down by Shueisha or whatever. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my God, this is so intricate. This is so much to break down. I'm not going to be able to just verbalize this. I'm not going to be able to just describe to you what's in this. It's just too much. It's too much. It's too crazy. So I'm like, but I don't want to show the manga panel on screen because there's so much shit here. I'd have to leave the manga panel up for like, you know, 10 minutes to go over it. And I'm like, this is going to take forever. So I'm like, all right, well, what am I gonna do? Draw the whole damn thing on a giant piece of poster board and plaster it up here and go over it like a freaking science history teacher or something? Yeah, okay, I'll go grab it. All right. Yeah, give me a second while I put it up here. There you go. There you go. This took a while, but you know, I'm glad I did it. Just stand here as a teacher at his podium. All right, class. All right, everybody, welcome to class. How's everybody doing? Everybody good? Okay, everybody settle down now, I need a pointer. Kai's spear. I'll use that. Okay. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to One Piece 101. We have a big class today, all right? Today we are going to be covering the giant-ass mural at the end of Chapter 1138 that is going to generate more One Piece theories than there are stars in the sky. Okay, so let us begin with the recitation of the Harley text. All right, so we get an explanation of all three verses, all three worlds. I should begin by saying this. Oda probably took extensive time to plan exactly how he was going to word every single one of these sentences in every single one of these verses. Also remember, One Piece is written in Oda's native Japanese. Any time that you are going to translate something from one language to another one, you are inherently going to lose some context, I feel. Like, this could rhyme or bear more significance than just it is in English. This is just one translation of it. The official is obviously not out yet, but no matter what English translation of it exists, I'm sure there's like, you won't 100% get what Oda's trying to come across here with Japanese. So I'm gonna contact Artur and ask him if he can give me like a full, like just like a version of this in Japanese with the kanji and everything, so I can look through it all. And I can't read Japanese, but it might give a better idea there. And go check out Artur's stuff, because I'm sure he's going to have a field day with this. So I just wanted to clarify that, you know, we're taking something here that we might lose some context. Okay. The first world. There was fire upon the earth. Humanity succumbed to desire and touched the forbidden sun. The slaves made a wish, and the god of the sun appeared, but the god of the earth became enraged. And alongside the serpent of hell enveloped the world in death and darkness. They could never meet again. The second world. There was a breath upon the emptiness. The god of the forest sent forth demons. The sun merely spread the embers of war. The people of the half-moon dreamed. The people of the moon dreamed. Humanity killed the sun and ascended to divinity. The god of the sea became enraged. They could never meet again. Third verse. There was void upon the chaos. The unbidden shadows remember the day of the promise, and they hear the voice of the fragmented moon. The god of the sun dances and laughs, guiding the world to its end. The sun will return, and a new dawn will come. They will surely meet again. That's the end of the chapter. No break next week. Yeah, I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, come on, how much more obvious can you make it, Oda? I mean, everybody should know where this is going. I don't really think I need to go on any more detail. Thanks for watching, everybody. I might make, like, one follow-up video about this, but whatever. Later, see ya. Okay, no. Oda was like, oh, you want some theories, motherfuckers? I'll give you some damn theories. Oh, God, all right. Where do we even start with this? Where do we even start? When reading the 3 verses, I was under the assumption that this right here was taking all 3 verses and throwing them together in one mural. Like, you know, like the first verse is over here, because the first verse is like above this part of the mural, and then the second verse is above this one, and then the third verse is above this one. So I was thinking like first world, second world, third world at the end. That seems to not be the case. From the way I'm looking at this, it seems to be a story of the second world, definitely, because there's a lot of stuff here involving the Void Century that we know about. Sun God Nika appears right here, bending his body with the shield and the sword. This is a giant that has horns. This is clearly the Iron Giant Emeth right here. The Noah is right here. Let's see, we have the demon over here holding the sun. That is probably the demon of the earth, or the, let's see here. There was a fire upon the earth, and the god of the sun appeared. The god of the earth became enraged, along with the serpent of hell that enveloped the world in death and darkness. Okay, so these are 3 animals, 3 large demon-like creatures that are prevalent throughout this entire mural, kind of framing it. This is like a devil demon holding the sun. This is a large winged demon breathing fire. And this is a serpent, like, sea king-like creature over here. It's very easy to look at these 3 creatures and simply say these are the 3 ancient weapons. So that's kind of what I'm going with here as an idea. The one over here, that's the Sea King, is very clearly going to be Poseidon. The Sea Kings that, you know, take over the world, you know, controlled by the Mermaid Princess. Over here, we have a devil, which could easily be the god of the earth, or Pluton, king of the underworld, Hades. Then we have a sky creature over here, which could be, you know, the giant laser cannon that destroyed Lelucia, Uranus. So we have Pluton, Uranus, and Poseidon. Those ones kind of line up pretty easily there. We have so many things to point out here. The entire, let's start with the outwards and work our way in. So the whole thing is framed in fire. The very bottom of the mural is flames that are coming up, and flames are kind of framing both sides. The Yggdrasil tree, treasure tree Adam, is right in the center. And I kind of had to, you know, scrunch it down a little bit here. But it's trees, and the branches of the tree are kind of going out and kind of splitting it into 2 here. I don't know if that means that, like, Void Century stuff, Second World stuff is on this side, First World stuff over here. I'm not really sure. I'm thinking it probably might be something like that. But, yeah, so Flames, Yggdrasil. Okay, So this could very well be Joy Boy, or it could be the original sun god. We do not know. There is a ship here that has a sun symbol on it. It's very similar to the Alabasta sigil. There is a woman on this ship that has long hair. Could be Nefeltari D. Lily. Very easy to assume that. Emeth is here. There is an angel creature diving here, kind of like heading directly towards this huge devil. There is a whale that is kind of floating in the sky with a bunch of rain droplets next to it. 2 people are on top of this whale here. Could be Laboon, or reference an island whale in some way. There are a lot of boats that are carrying a lot of different kinds of people, tribes, and various races in One Piece. There is a mermaid wearing a crown here, probably the mermaid princess holding a trident. There is probably most likely a mink that is here. There's another like wolf being up here that has like a wolf mane that's carrying a sword, also resembles a mink. The ancient giants are kind of all over, giants with horns. This is a ship that has a samurai on it, a guy that has a top knot and is wielding a katana. So that's the Kozuki clan samurai ship from Wano. Don't know about this one down here, but there is a ship with a guy that looks to have like a sunflower-esque head, like you know, just like you draw like a sunflower head, and that's kind of the design of this guy's hair. Not really sure about that. There are 2 ships that are colored in black. A lot of the other ships are just colored in white. But there's one ship, the samurai ship, that was colored in black, and then there's another ship that's down here that's also colored in black. I don't think there's anybody of real note at that point on that ship. There is a Tontada right here, little tiny Tontada. There is a ship that's sailing, like, looks like to be on top of the god or the devil of the earth. There are these little star things that are pointed all over, okay? Like, there's stars over here, little bursts of, like, energy and stuff that are all over the place. And they also come into prevalence down here when we get over to that. We're not even done breaking this whole thing down yet. But on this side, I think we covered everything on this side. Giants, Nika, maybe Joy Boy, Devil with the Sun. They're fighting this giant demon thing. But also the Alabasta ship could indicate this is the Allies. You know, it actually, honestly, if you look at it in this perspective, every single one of these characters here, giant, Tontada, mermaid, random people in boats, they are all fighting this motherfucker right here. They are all fighting this giant demon guy, okay? Which is interesting because this seems to imply it wasn't just Joy Boy as, you know, like the head of the ancient kingdom that was fighting against the Allied that would be turned into the 20 families that are the, you know, the world government today. It seems like everybody was joining together to fight this dude, all right? So take that whatever you will. All right, now moving on to this side of the mural, okay? So we have, let's see, starting from the top, let's say, we have the ancient weapon, Uranos, the sky weapon, sky dragon. It could just be an actual dragon, because dragons existed in One Piece. Breathing fire. The fire, I kind of messed up the alignment here, but the Sea King and the fire breathed by this sky monster are the same fire. Like, it connects to one of their mouths. Like, the Sea King is breathing fire into the dragon's mouth, or vice versa kind of thing, right? The moon, the full moon is drawn directly above it. The moon has some weird donut patterns in it that don't appear anywhere else on the mural. But on the moon, there are these little, like, donut, like, circle kind of things that are drawn there. There is Eneru's arc, or an arc that looks remarkably like Eneru's. Where did Eneru get the design for the arc? Did he just make it up himself? Did he just design it himself? Or did Enel see some kind of a scripture or carving at one point? He was like, that's what I want to fucking make. I want to make that thing, you know? So it's Eneru's arc. It even has like little like propellers on the top of it, some oars coming off the bottom to paddle it, and a giant lightning bolt coming off of the arc and striking this area right here, which is under the ocean. There's a little area that's cut out here, and we see at the very bottom of this, we see some animals and people loading onto this large ship. It's the Noah, it's the Ark. There is an angel creature standing right next to the Ark. just kind of like an angel with wings floating next to the ark. The ark is ascending up, and then a giant lightning bolt cuts across at the very top. Standing on the top of this ocean realm of the mural, there is a person wearing a crown. Okay, maybe like the previous king of the Ryukyu kingdom. This could have been Neptune's ancestor, possibly, or it could be Eem like subjugating that realm. It could be something else, or like Eem's ancestor or something like that. Okay, so we have the moon up here. All right, now cutting over to here, we have a modern-esque city. We have like skyscraper structures over here. Okay. Like large, building structures that you would see in like New York in like the 1920s or whatever, like that kind of industrial progression. So this, and also a bunch of gears and machines and wires and cogs and all sorts of things down here in the right corner. So this would probably indicate the ancient kingdom over here. This is the advanced ancient kingdom that existed, that Joy Boy was born in, okay? Here we have people ascending what looks like some kind of elevator. On one side of this elevator, on the Ancient Kingdom side, they are ascending with, looks like halos over their heads, like they're dead. Like, was the Ancient Kingdom able to bring people back from the dead? Also, especially since everything's framed by fire, they're literally coming up out of the fire. Is this like the flames of hell or the flames of the underworld, and the Ancient Kingdom figured out a way to conquer death and raise the dead? Because it looks like they're not carrying anything, but they look like they have halos on them and they're ascending. And these people are picking them up. Or, I guess it's possible they could be sending them down. Just because of the way the perspective is here, could be people ascending or people going down into the flames. And are these people throwing them on the elevator down, or are they helping them off the elevator? Considering they have halos all the way down, I'm assuming they're coming up. And then these people are like, yes, welcome back to the land of the living. Welcome back to our holy place. So we have revived you. Maybe something like that. Then, oh, by the way, also amidst these cogs and gears, there's also a boat with people on it inside of this little like cog and gear and wire work and stuff like that. Then on the side of the ocean where the Noah is kind of bordering, there are people also ascending the elevator, carrying those stars that we see all over this mural. They're holding it like it's energy, like it's fragments of the sun. They are holding it, like dragging it up from like a mine or something. And then they're beginning to ascend this slope and then hand it off to the people here. And they're eventually feeding it into this city. And the people that are carrying these like energy sparks have their heads held down as if they are being oppressed. They are slaves. And they are like forced to like carry the energy up the slope and like toss it in, the chute or whatever to power the city. And then they have to go back down and they get more energy and they throw it back in and then they go back down. Like they're holding their heads down like they are being like oppressed, and it's, they're not enjoying this, okay? And that is the fuel source, the energy source that is supplying this city with the giant plumes of smoke coming off of it. So, just going off of this side right here, it seems very clear to me the ancient kingdom employed a form of slavery in order to power their cities. Remember what Vegapunk said. He was talking about, like, which side is good, which side is evil. Don't think about it in that context. Both sides might have been pretty jacked up here, is what I'm saying, all right? Like, it might have not have been a thing where, like, oh, Joy Boy was good, and the world government, the allies, the 20 allies that formed together, those were the evil ones, and they fought together. Oh, Joy Boy was like, maybe Joy Boy got a little out of hand. Maybe Joy Boy was like, well, I have to do something crazy, but it's for good intentions kind of thing, right? And then maybe that might have resulted in the world flood. Or it could have been both sides were really fucked up. That could have been the idea here. Going over the lyrics, or the verses, I guess, of this. Oh, man, okay. And I'll be breaking this down in a separate, because, like, this really, I need to sit down and, like, go over, like, basically every line of this in order to really go over it. So I'm going to give you just a brief thing now, but we're talking about gods of the earth, gods of the sun, God of the forest is mentioned. These are brought up by the Shandians during Skypiea, the flashback with Noland and Kagura. Kashigami, the giant serpent, is mentioned to be God of the rain, the forest, the earth, and the sun. The God of the rain is not mentioned here. We have God of the sea, but I'm pretty sure it was God of, like, Ame, meaning rain. And rain does appear. Rain is over here with the whale, over here. So at the beginning, the earth was fire, might be referring to like a primordial state of the earth. The humanity existed, though, and they touched the forbidden sun. So this is something I honestly looked over. Artur was talking about it in a video where he was going through the timelines of One Piece. There was an age that existed before the Void Century called the Age of Slaves. And this is when, like, the Tontada were subjugated by the Don Quixote family, or the original Don Quixote kings and stuff like that. So there was an age of slavery. So at the beginning, everything was fire. That might indicate demons, like actual demons and devils and Oni ruled the One Piece world with an iron fist. And humanity was there as literally at the bottom of the rung. It was literally demons oppressing humans, and that was all it was. So the humans decided to rebel, and they came in contact with the sun, which maybe it was they prayed, or maybe they found one of the demons' power sources and came in contact with it or something, and then through that, the originator of the legend of the sun god was born. In the first world, we had the sun god Nika being born there. The slaves made a wish. The god of the sun appeared. The god of the earth became enraged. The god of the earth is this dude right here. I'm assuming it's this dude, okay? God of the earth became enraged, and alongside the serpent of hell, could be this one over here, or the Jormungandr, the serpent that encircles the world, enveloped the world in death and darkness. They could never meet again. The second world, which I'm assuming is the Void Century War, there was a breath upon the emptiness. The god of the forest sent forth demons. The sun merely spread the embers of war. In the second world, the sun god seems to not be a savior. The sun god seems to be an arbiter. Like, actually, like, not arbiter, an accomplice, I guess, in this. Like, the forest god and the sun god were both sending, like, hell on earth, indicating there could be multiple sun gods. One's a good guy, one's not so much. Luffy's a third one. The people of the half moon dreamed. The people of the moon dreamed. Could be referring to the moon as in the sense of the Lunarians from the moon. And then the moon as in the people that lived on the moon, like Bjerkans. Okay? That because the city on the moon is called Bjerka. A lot of this is also reminiscent of the murals that Eneru saw up there. My battery on this camera is going to die soon, so I'm going to have to wrap this up eventually, but like I could keep going on this, and I will, trust me. Humanity killed the sun and then ascended to divinity. Dollars to donuts, that probably refers to the allies, the allied forces, killing Joy Boy, defeating the sun god, and claiming their title atop the red line as the gods of the world, the Tenryubito. The god of the sea became enraged. They could never meet again. All right, let's talk about those verses at the end. This really does feel like a freaking English class right now. Let's talk about that verse at the end here. We talk about the earth becoming enraged, and then the sea god becoming enraged. So the sea god becoming enraged makes sense for there being a worldwide flood at the end of the second world. At the end of the Void Century, there was a worldwide flood. At the end of the first world, the Earth God became enraged. That could be the origin of the red line. At the end of the primal world, at the end of the first world, Earth God was enraged. Boom! Creation of red line. Second world, war happens. Sun God dies. Joy Boy's defeated. World government takes over. Claim divinity. Sea God is enraged. Devil fruits exist. Boom! World is flooded. Third world. There was void upon the chaos, referring to the Void Century. The unbidden shadows remember the day of promise, and they hear the voice of the fragmented moon. The unbidden shadows, the will of D, the clan of D, those that walk in the shadows. They've been talked about that before. Eam even called them that. Emu even said, those that walk in the shadows of history. Those are the clan of D. The fragmented moon, the voice of all things. The god of the sun dances and laughs, Luffy. Guiding the world to its end. The prophecy that he's going to destroy Fishman Island. the world will come to an end, the sun will return, and a new dawn will come. A new era will come. The world will end here, but everything will be brought anew. And at the end of the third world, nobody is enraged. They will surely meet again. So really it comes down to everything in this world that we're seeing up until now is probably going to get obliterated. It's going to be destroyed. It's going to be an apocalyptic level event. The world will end. Many will die. But the floodwaters recede, and the earth is born anew, and the olive branch and the little flower blooms out of the ground, and a new era begins. The sun will return, a new dawn will come. They will surely meet again, referring to, I'm assuming, Joy Boy, the Void, like all the stuff in the Void Century with like the Mermaid Princess Poseidon. I'm assuming that's what it means. But it could mean more than that, because we used to think that prophecy just went back to the Void, like Joy Boy and Poseidon meeting again. So like Luffy meeting Shirahoshi. But it existed even before that. There was a lot of stuff going on before that, so they will surely meet again. I have no earthly idea what that means or what that refers to. Luffy would be included in that. The Sun God certainly would be included in that, but who else will meet again? I do not know. So, like I said, battery's going to die soon, so I'm going to end it here. That's a breakdown for the ages, I guess. I don't know. But I'm glad I made this thing at least, so I can at least have a visual representation up here. Yeah, gonna have to break this down. Gonna have to see the original, like, Japanese text of this and see what's going on there with the kanji and all that. But yeah, and also, I love at the end here, I just love how Frankie is the one looking at this. We just see Frankie in silhouette. Like, I didn't draw Frankie here, but he was, like, right here just staring up at this, like, I don't know what in good fuck this even means. It's just, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. It's like, it's okay, Frankie. It's okay, Frankie. I think a lot of people are with you right now. And there's no break next week. Oda drew all this and we still have another chapter next week. Unless there turns out to be like, oh, by the way, there was a mistake. There actually is a break next week. Which could be, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to end it. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is a crazy chapter. Crazy double-page spread. Lot to break down and a lot to discuss in this. Get ready, everybody. We're going to college. We're going back to school. Oh, man.